All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time of day you're tuning in. Welcome to today's podcast episode of the Raw Podcast. I am your host, Rahsaan Corbin II. It's another wonderful day to, learn something new or even just attain knowledge, in general. So today's guest, another special guest, Jaiden Howard, someone who I got to know very well during my last school year at FAMU. So Jaiden, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How you doing today?
I'm chilling, man. You looking sharp per usual, man. Every time I see Jaden, he always got a suit on, ready to handle business. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just glad you're able to take the time to come on today. Um, so before we get started, we're gonna do a little icebreaker. And this icebreaker is going to be a question that's travel related because I know you did a lot of it over the past 4 months, really. You did a lot of it. So, like, out of all the places during 2024, where was your favorite place? Or, well, better yet, we'll do top three. I don't want to limit to one. What are your top three favorite places?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed, our friendship has that how it's grown over the past year that we've gotten to know each other, man. I have a lot of respect for you and what you do. So I'm just glad to see you thriving. But in terms of the travel, yeah, you're right. I've done a lot of travel. I mean, I've probably been on a plane at least twice a month, every month this year. And if I had to say my favorite places so far, it's definitely been number one, Washington, D.C. I just love Washington, D.C. I love to see Black excellence thriving out there. I look at it as just a cleaner version of Atlanta. There's a lot of opportunity, and I just love to see all the business going down out there. Number two, I would say my second favorite place, I love New York. Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. I love New York. I spent a lot of time out there traveling back and forth, and it's just always an adventure every single time. So I love New York. And then my third favorite this year was definitely Philadelphia. I've never been to Philadelphia before, but I grew up a big wrestling fan, and I was able to finally go to WrestleMania this year. That was a core memory that will probably last the rest of my life. And I just, I fell in love with it out there. I will go again. Currently planning to go to Mania in Vegas next year. So, you know, that's my top three.
Yeah, Philly. I'm from the area right outside of West Philly. I do wish I got to go to WrestleMania, but later date, it'll be on my bucket list eventually. But yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate the icebreaker. Now going down to the interview, just so the people feel a little more comfortable. Seeing who they're talking to. So, quick background before we get into the meat and potatoes of the interview. Where you from? What school do you attend? And what made you choose a school? We'll start there.
So I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. For those who don't know, it's a bridge over from Tampa, and currently go to FAMU. I'll be graduating here this semester. And what made me choose FAMU, honestly, was just the culture. I came from a place where I was one of few in my class. A lot of people can relate to that come to FAMU. And I came up to watch my one of my best friends graduate and saw the culture, saw the community, and I just fell in love with it. I applied and got accepted 2 weeks later.
Nice. And then what's your major and what made you choose your major?
So my major is computer information systems. The reason why I chose it, the real reason why I chose it is because
Go ahead, be real.
yeah, I had a friend and I would see her day to day would be she wakes up, gets on the laptop, and that's all she do. So I said, "Well, what's your major?" She said, "CIS." I said, "Bet," because I knew I wanted to do something tech related, and I never liked math and sciences too much, so I couldn't do computer science. So CIS was that perfect medium for me to get the technical and still have great opportunity.
Nice. And then what's your on-campus involvement?
So I'm a transfer student. So my journey when it comes to on-campus involvement is a little limited. Personally, what I involved myself in was, of course, NESB, which is where I met you at. BDPA, I was in BDPA. And outside of that, really just a lot of personal connection with people, trying to put people onto as many opportunities as I can. If I find something, I spread it out. So it's just been a lot of me talking to people in different departments, talking to people in different majors, and just being a guide that you can go to and get opportunities and resources from.
Got you. And I do remember when we first met, you said you had corporate experience, a little bit of corporate experience before coming back to school. Um, was there a certain decision that was made after high school made you want to go the corporate route before going back to school? Or was that how was that journey?
Well, the journey for me after high school, well, first of all, I went to a high school. I was in a program called CAT. Center for Advanced Technologies at Lakewood High School in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is also one of the highest producers for NFL athletes, I might add. I wasn't so lucky. I had a few injuries, so that didn't. But to be honest with you, I started out, I was bartending, and a gentleman sat at my bar one day and told me he could double my paycheck. I said, I don't believe it. He showed me how he could do it, and that job ended up being canvassing, going door to door. Now, a lot of people might look down on people in that industry, but there's some people making some real money. I mean, I was working with people making two, three, $400,000 a year, knocking on people's door. And when I saw that in real time, that's when I knew, okay, sales needs to be a part of what I'm doing right now because I was one of those people who had to take significant responsibility in my household at a young age. So I had to make sure that the bills got paid. And I saw that as a great way to not only make money, but also I had to do some things taking care of my mother in certain ways. So I needed time and flexibility. So that allowed me to get the perfect medium. While doing that, I actually began I was very well in that industry. I actually became a manager within 3 months. So I came in, doubled my bartender check, and then within 3 months, doubled that check. And I said, this is the route for me. I ventured off from doing that W-2 to doing it as an independent contractor. And I was able to actually start my first small business around that time with another friend of mine who had an expertise in marketing and sales in the in-home industry. Now, we were going door to door doing hurricane windows, roofs, solar systems. Those are really big markets down here in Florida. And what we would do is we had companies that contracted with us. We produced the marketing team as well as supplied sales associates, and we would get the leads and send our sales associates to the houses to close the deals and send the deals to the appropriate company. Now, we were actually very successful doing this. The only problem is we started doing this at the beginning of 2020. So within 90 days, everything was shut down.
Yeah.
But I took that experience and it is something that has carried with me still to this day. But that's what led me into my corporate career because when COVID shut that industry down, I was also in a car accident that threw my back out, and I wasn't able to walk the streets anymore, do the things I needed to do. I came across an opportunity to become an SDR with a company named ResMed, who's the world leader in CPAP machines. I was a part of the unit that sold EMR, EHR software to nursing homes, hospitals, things like that. So I was able to talk to C-level executives every day, understanding their pain points and really selling software and getting my first taste of technical sales. And I was able to do that for about a year until I decided to come back to school, and here we are today.
So you say you were a transfer student. Does that mean you started community college, then came to FAMU, or you just went right to FAMU?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I went to St. Petersburg College. I was a business administration scholar, and I did the 2 year get your associate. And honestly, I was trying everything. I was learning about the stock market. I was trying to find any reason not to get a degree, but I knew I had to be in school because that's what my mom kept telling me I needed to do. So I was trying to figure it out. After I got my associates, that's when it was around COVID time. And like I said, I was doing my thing with the sales. I said, well, I don't need no education. This is what's going to do it for me. And as life went on, about 3 years between me getting my associates and coming back to FAM, I had that success. I had those pitfalls, but really what the ultimate determining factor was my oldest brother passed in February of 2022. And I always knew I wanted to go to school. I wanted that experience. I wanted to see what it was like before I got too old, to be the old man on campus. But so I decided, let me do something for me. I've always been doing this stuff for everybody else. Honestly, I didn't like the sales job because I got tired of talking about health records and stuff and talking about old people all day. So I really wasn't a big fan of that. So it's just a lot of things were happening in my life at that time. And I said, I need a break and I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to enjoy myself. And I said, I'm going to take a 2 year break and I'm going to come back to this job. I didn't realize the opportunities that would present themselves while I've been at school has led me to so many more things than I could have ever imagined. So that's
Got
my
you.
journey as a transfer.
When did you start at FAMU? Because I met you fall 23, I think.
I started fall of 22.
Okay, so you started a year prior. Okay. And then how was that first semester for you?
That first semester for me was amazing. I'm talking about I had it's an environment I had never been in, the energy, the parties, the people. I'm a people person. I know how to meet. A lot of people come in and they say, I can't find friends, I'm bored, I can't do this. I didn't have that problem. I came right in. I met my FAMU best friend on day one. Uh Met FAMU best friend number two on day two. Come to find out, we all knew each other and we've been rocking ever since. And I loved it. I was able to figure out, that there are more people that look like me that are doing some great things, and that just inspired me so much to where I just loved it. I loved everything about it.
Got you. And then how was the transition the first semester, I'll say? How was the transition like coming back to school? Like how are you feeling?
Yeah, well, coming back, it really was a lot of uncertainty because I hadn't been in a classroom setting in so long, you know. And traditionally, I was always one of those students who was good enough to get by. I was always in honors and advanced classes, but I never put in honors or advanced work ethic into it. I was just good enough to get by. So when I came back to school, it was easier because I actually cared. I had a mission. I said, I'm going to get in and get out in 2 years. And it was easier to get good grades. I had never in my life gotten a 4.0 GPA, and I did it 2 semesters in a row when I came back. I also threw myself in so many things. I started wrestling, I started boxing. It got to a point to where I wasn't even sleeping. I was doing so much, and that's when I had to learn the balance. But that's because I had never been in a position to just think about myself and do the things that I want to do. I always had to worry about home. But God aligned everything in a way to where home was taken care of, and I could also focus on myself.
Got you. And then how was your corporate experience? How was some of those skills translate over to university? 'Cause you know you said you came back in more focused, you know you want to do, but were there any skills you took from your corporate to the classroom setting?
Really, just knowing how to navigate things. A lot of students come to FAMU, and the first issue they deal with is financial aid. You know, me, you tell me no, I know that that means next opportunity. So, who is your manager? Who do I need to speak to? Who else can I talk to about this issue? And I was able to expedite a lot of the issues that the common student might have because I'm used to having to scale and climb to get what I want. So, that experience came through right there. And then on the other side, just for a more personal level, I had been used to talking to 100 people a day, so I didn't have any issue with walking up to someone and asking them a question. If you give me attitude, I'm still going to smile as long as you answer my question. So
Hmm.
it really just gave me a sense of independence that I was more comfortable in navigating, uh, not coming from the position of someone who has no experience having to navigate an adult world like your common student might have.
Got you. Yeah, that's really good. And yeah, you can talk to people. I thought I could talk to people, but I'm not gonna lie, you might have one up me with talking to people like for a long duration of time. So that's when you go on and on and on with people talking and talking. And that's really good skill to have. I think that's very good, especially with someone in the STEM field, especially if they want to go in the corporate or some sort of role outside of college. It helps you a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I
Um,
just enjoy, understanding where people are coming from, and I don't really operate on who's right or who's wrong. I just operate on what can I understand and gain from this conversation, and what can I provide to you. 9 times out of 10, the conversation you see me having is really just talking about things that I see someone else could be doing. Hey, I learned about this. Maybe you should consider this. And I could talk about that all day because now I'm helping you. I don't look for anything from anybody. I just always look to give.
Got you. Was there ever a point in your academic or professional career where you felt like you already hit the ceiling with your professional development? Like, did you feel like you still had more room to grow?
Oh, there's always room to grow. One thing that I realized about myself is that I need to put myself in different environments because I need to feel like I am at the bottom of the totem pole, per se. So when I can look at someone and say, wow, they know more than I do about this, then I go and I try to learn as much as I can from that person. So there's always room to grow. And I never want to be the smartest person in a room because then what can I gain from that room?
Hmm. And then from your on-campus experience, How has that assisted with your professional development? Because I know you mentioned NESB, you mentioned BDPA. How has that assisted with your growth?
Well, really, what it's done is helped me to discover my passion. I never had a passion before. I just wanted to make money and provide for my family. But when it comes to seeing just the lack of exposure that students have, which leads to a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge, and a lack of opportunity, I found a passion in being able to provide that as much as I can to as many people as I can. So I take that corporate experience and that experience that I had between my high school to coming to FAMU, and that's what I apply to in order to help as many people as I can when it comes to resumes, when it comes to presenting yourself, when it comes to certain conversations you should be having with certain individuals. I give as much as I can in that space, and I found that passion here at FAMU.
Got you. Did you have any mentors when you were at FAMU or just in college in general?
Established mentors, no. I have run into a lot of people who say they will mentor you, and then you send them an email and they don't respond. It's not easy for me to find a mentor, but I look at everybody as being sort of a sub mentor. For example, you, Rahsaan, you starting this podcast. This is something that's very interesting to me. If I need to know something about a podcast, you would be the person that I would go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just things like that. You know, you were the president of Nesby. I was very impressed when I saw that. You know, I was like, wow, this is so cool to me. So if I wanted to understand more about how to get into leadership, you would have been the person that I go to mentor me. So I don't need an established mentor. I just look at people and I say, hey, this is a person I can learn from. Let me go learn it.
that's good. Were you a mentor to anyone? I know you just said, you have sub mentors, but were you a mentor to anyone? Like, has anyone asked you for advice and like say, "Hey, I need you to help me go through this process"?
Man, all the time. And it warms my heart. You know, I have people send people to me and say, hey, this person can help you find an internship. Or, you know, I go to the career fair, I take people with me, I walk them around and show them how I interact. You know, not to tell them what to do, just show them a good example of how to. You know, I've taken people to go get suits. I've showed people, hey, you know, your collar needs to be turned down on your coat, you know, things, simple things like that. You know, I have people send me they send me their cover letters, they send me their resumes all the time and just ask what I think. I just actually had someone do a pitch competition. That's why I'm dressed so nice. I was supporting at the pitch competition, and we spent about 2 hours going over her pitch so that we could find a way to get it good. So I don't know if I could say I'm an established mentor, but what I can say is I'm an open source of guidance for anybody that wants it.
That's always a good thing to have. And I'm trying to figure out which way I should go about this. How'd you manage all your time? I'll go with that first. How'd you manage your time? Because I know you just said you were over and not over involved, but you're really involved in the classroom setting, outside the classroom setting, and you had to find that balance. How'd you find that balance?
Well, when I first came to FAMU, I was doing the wrestling, doing the boxing, going out all the time, having my classes, trying to make friends. I didn't know how to balance all of that. But internally, I'm a hustler. You know what I mean? I've been down, I've been up, and I know how to keep going. When I was doing my business stuff, going door to door, I would be working 16, 17-hour days. I'm talking about all day. Wake up, working all the way up till I go to sleep. Get a couple hours and I'm back at it. So it's just something that's been ingrained in me to never use not having time as an excuse because I understand that we all operate on what we prioritize. So as long as I can prioritize it, I can get it done.
Very well spoken. Very, very well spoken. Make that priority list and go from there
Mhm.
throughout the day. Now, your internship experience or your corporate experience from a undergraduate perspective, what were your internship experiences since you've
So
been back at FAM?
my first internship was with a company named Mondelez International. For those who don't know, those are the ones who own the Oreo brand, Sour Patch Kids, Nabisco. They own all of those brands, and I was a data analyst. Now, I'll tell you a story about how I got that internship, and this is really important to anybody in any phase of your life. When I came to FAMU, I didn't think I was qualified for any of the internships that my major was curated for because I had no experience. I was a sales guy. I didn't know anything. I had a roommate. You know, I was very blessed to have good roommates. I had a roommate by the name of Kobe Gibson, who was a master's student at FAMU. And he told me, he said, "Are you going to the career fair?" I said, "No." He says, "Why?" I said, "Well, I just transferred here. I haven't been in school in 3 years. I haven't taken any classes. I haven't done any tech jobs. What would I qualify for?" He said, "I don't know. Just go and show up." He said, "That's all you got to do." I said, "Man, all right." So I just went and I showed up and I met the people at Mondelez. And the next they said they're gonna give me a call. I said, "Okay, I'll wait on it." I never take nobody's word at face value all the time. So the next day, I go to the grand ballroom because I see a bunch of people dressed up in suits sitting, and I'm like, "Oh, is this another career fair?" And they say, "No, we got called back for interviews." And I'm sitting there, stomach turning, like, "Dang, they said they was gonna call me. They never called me." I'm literally sitting down. I'm just sitting down, and I'm not nothing to do, just sitting there. I couldn't move my legs. This has happened to me in a few situations where I can't move. The man comes out the bathroom right in front of me and says, "Jaiden, I was just thinking about you. Can you do an interview in 10 minutes?" And I got the internship that same day. So that just lets you know you never know why you're in a place, but the best thing you can do is show up. Oh, I keep going. Okay. And
No, yeah, yeah,
then
keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. We
so
we doing
after
we doing some storytelling stuff. So go ahead. We learn best through stories.
So that was a data analytics internship. And this previous, and what I learned from that is, these internships don't really require too much of you. They get impressed by you doing the most simple things sometimes. Now it's not that way with everybody, but that was my experience with Mondelez. So that told me, I said, well, next year I'm gonna get two internships because I need the money. So this previous year I interned with Honeywell doing product ownership, and I also interned with Home Depot doing a data analytics role that was really more of a data engineering role. They just didn't know how to label it. And I was able to successfully balance both of those internships. And what I learned was I didn't like product ownership with Honeywell, and Home Depot was a little behind the curve in their technology. And they told me day one, they said, "Well, we don't actually have a position for you. We just want to see how your skill set would align to our department." And I said, "Well, that's a little unfair because
Yeah.
what if this was the only thing that I banked everything on, only for you to tell me when I start that this is an experiment and you don't even have the infrastructure to offer me a job?"
Mhm.
So I did both of those. And yeah, I mean, they were beneficial in me learning a lot of good things, but ultimately, um, those were not the companies for me.
So what's the plan now that you're coming up on graduation? What's the next steps for you?
Well, the next steps for me, currently, what I have in place is a contract with Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. They're migrating their electronic health record from their legacy system to a system called Epic. So they need someone who can help them get that set up within the next 4 months, because if that isn't set up properly, they can't get funded. They can't even really operate as a hospital. So that's where that corporate experience in my past, not even knowing why God blessed me with that opportunity to work with ResMed, I'm able to say, well, I know everything about Epic. I know the features, I know what it needs, I know the issues with it. I can come in, I can help do anything y'all need me to do. So that's what I'm doing. On a more entrepreneurship aspects, that is where I thrive. That is where I am positioning myself in this world as an entrepreneur as best as I can. And I've recently started a company, Automate Solutions, where we are a full service solution organization that helps small businesses automate their business processes. So this can either be through a chatbot system, we can give you 24/7 customer service. We can automate your leads and sales and lead generation. We can automate your internal business processes. We can create an app for you. We can create the website for you. We can do it all. If I can't do it myself, I have other developers that can do it as well. And we're also a consultant in the AI space because we know that's a space that's new, it's very niche, and it offers a lot of revenue potential. Within 2 weeks, I've already gotten 3 clients that I'm working with. So I've been able to lay a solid foundation, and I plan to scale that until I can't scale no more.
It's a perfect transition because now we're gonna dive into the pitch competitions.
Mm.
So I know I know a few of the pitch competitions because we were both in them at the same time. But how many pitch competitions have you done? Like, do
Man,
you do you have it written down or anything, or like can you count them on your fingers, maybe more than your hands?
I'll say I don't have the exact number, but um, I've only been doing them since October 2023, and I just finished my last one in November of 2024. And I'll say I've probably done 15. I'll say. I think I've done 15.
What was the success rate? I already know one of them was a good success rate because you won first place and I won third. But like, what was the success rate of all the pitch competitions you've done?
Um, when I've done pitch competitions with no team, me by myself, 100%. When I've done pitch competitions where I have a large team, not so, but they're completely different experiences. I'll say if I were to say 100%, maybe 70, 30, 65, 35, something like that. I
Mm.
definitely am shooting at a very good percentage.
Yeah, you've been very successful because I've always seen you on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I already told you this straight up. I'm like, yo, you motivate me to keep going too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always good to see you doing it, striving and thriving, as I always say, in that field.
Hmm.
But you already answered one of the questions about the entrepreneurship spirit. But like, and you also answered the why because you like you want to get money, you want to help people out. But what were some takeaways from the pitch competitions?
Well, I had never really been in the mindset of understanding how to create a well-rounded product. Doing the pitch competitions allowed me to learn how to not only develop a business plan, but to pitch a business plan, the things to look for, the things that are important to investors, ways of thinking about coming up with a solution, whether it's a technical product or just a regular physical product. It allowed me to think outside the box in so many different areas that I would have never been in before. See, I'm the type of person where, of course, I'm an information system scholar. So one might expect me to focus on hackathons, but people think I'm an SBI student, School of Business student, because I do it all. If there's an art competition, I'm doing the art competition. If there's a psychology competition, I'm doing that as well, because I have the ability to learn what I need to learn and apply it when I need to apply it. So when you ask about the corporate experience and how that's you know contributed to my academic experience, that's the direct correlation right there. I was already prepared to know how to sell myself and how to sell a product, but doing these competitions taught me how to develop and sell my own product, and that is really what's empowering the entrepreneur spirit inside of me, is the competitions I've done and the experience from that. I tell people I don't need a business degree because doing these competitions is my business degree. I learned how to market, sell, create a business plan, understand financing, understand accounting. I learned every aspect of business doing these competitions over and over and over again. I can, the blend between the technical and the business, that's like a unicorn.
Nice. And then I was about to ask, do you plan on getting your MBA to maybe further improve on your skills you may have?
I would get an MBA for the only purpose I would do that is because I understand there are certain resources as an MBA student that you qualify for that you don't qualify for when you're not. The different pitch competitions, being able to get into investors, people caring more about you because you're a student. We have this thing where we look at young people and we're just full of encouragement and we always want to empower and pour into them. But when you get older, that tends to go away. So, me being on the older side of youth, I'll say, I'm still young, but in this space, I am a little bit older. People are going to stop caring eventually. So I need to capitalize on that as well I can. And we'll see. Currently, I'm looking at the Columbia program, which is a full ride scholarship to Columbia University, and I would do that in nonprofit management.
Got you. And then you already answered some of the questions I have, but I'm gonna kind of freestyle right now. What's some advice you would give to someone going to their first pitch competition?
Some advice that I would give someone going into their first is to be confident, because that is what will carry you in any situation in this world, is confidence. One of the biggest things I find myself doing is telling people why they are better than what they think they are. You are always better than what you think you are because you are your harshest critic. So you are always going to think you're worse. That's something that I struggle with all the time. I give pitches and I go, man, I should have said this. And someone else goes, it was great. And then I get first place. And I'm like, there's no way. Why did you give me first place? It's because I'm better than I think I am. So If you know this, then it makes it easier for you to position yourself as someone who knows that they can provide value. Because at the end of the day, when you're doing a pitch competition, it's about how much value can you communicate.
Got you. Um, dang. Said some deep stuff. I'm sorry, I'm processing a little bit because it's been a little bit since I had like a entrepreneurship type conversation before. Well, not before, in a while. But that's always good to have. Always have that confidence. And yeah. Well, what do you do outside of entrepreneurship, pitch competitions, school? What do you do outside of it? Like, do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, my hobbies were the pitch competition. This past semester, like I've been doing them back to back to back to back to back. I just love it. I love being in that space. I love being around other students that look like me doing good things. It drives my adrenaline through the roof. But what I do outside of that is what another thing that was bestowed upon me from my roommate Kobe Gibson was painting. You know, that's something I had never really been in, and stepping into a creative field is something that gives me a lot of peace. So being able to paint and just release my mind from being so logical all the time and stepping into more of an open source mindset, that's something that I love to do. Another thing I like to do is I love concerts. Unfortunately, in Tallahassee, we don't have too many of those from the
Yeah.
artists that I want to see. So I travel, I go to concerts, I go to Atlanta. I'll be going to Atlanta next week for a West Side Gun event. I went to Chicago a month ago. He had another event I went to, going to the wrestling events. I went to WrestleMania in Philly. I went to SummerSlam in Cleveland. Just doing things like that and just, expanding my horizon when it comes to travel and experiences. That's really my hobby.
And then, do you have any closing remarks? Any words of encouragement, advice? Just keeping it general. Do you have anything you want to share before we close out?
What I'll tell a lot of people is that you will never want to box yourself into anything. You're a business scholar doesn't mean you can't learn technical things. You're a technical scholar doesn't mean you can't learn business things. Put yourself in multiple environments and multiple scenarios because that's the best way that you can grow. I see a lot of people who limit themselves, and it's really a mindset thing. Like I said before, if you know that you can provide value, then what's stopping you from providing that value? You always want to make sure you're putting yourself in a position where you can learn and gain more. And another thing I'll say, just on a more personal note to a lot of people listening, um, creating good friendships and solid relationships will carry you a long way. You know, coming to FAMU, I didn't know anybody, but I was able to meet some wonderful people. Going to these pitch competitions brings me out of that environment. And I now have friends and people I can reach out to all around America because I put myself in those environments. So as I go on my business ventures, I'm able to reach out to these people who are other entrepreneur minded people, and we're able to service each other. So always be expanding, never limit yourself, and just know that you are enough and that you are better than you think you are.
Very well spoken. Well, Jaden, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Graduation's coming up, just finished pitch competition, so I really appreciate you taking the time for this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, man. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. So closing out, if you like this video, like it, comment what you liked about it, share it with a friend too, or even subscribe to, see more videos just like this. Going to have a lot of more great guests in the time to come because it's only the beginning and we're only going up from here. And until next time, still trying to figure out how to close these out properly. So I'm gonna just say peace, bye, good night, all that stuff. Have a good day and all that. So appreciate y'all tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.